Today we're gonna make a table out of these chestnut slabs, and it's gonna be 2 pieces and a glue joint in the middle. And we're gonna do some design there with some copper wires. First, I thought we were gonna take this to one of the places that have the wide belt sander, be easier. But I look closer to these, they are a little too curved or bent. And I think we're gonna lose too much material if we send it through a sander. So we're just gonna do it the old-fashioned way with the router. Takes a little longer, but we know we can adjust and keep the curb. And the client says it's okay if it is a little uneven. And we have 3 pieces, and we only need 2, so I'm gonna plane all 3 and see how they look. Here's our manual CNC machine base. Now this is the rails, and this frame will slide on here, and the router slides on top of here. And then to level this out, I will move the sliding thing here and measure. Yeah, I got this a little too hot and it burned up. It's my fault. Chestnut is super hard wood, but then I cut in the center. I just cut a little too much. But I have a few more. Right in the middle here, I've been taking almost 1/4 of an inch and nothing here. So of course, hard wood like chestnut, it's just too much. And it's hot in here. It's too hot for us too. We now have the 2 pieces of, I was told chestnut, but I'm not 100% sure. It's so heavy and so hard. I have to figure out what it is. But I've been sanding for 2 days, and they're pretty flat. And I'm gonna cut a straight cut on both sides so we can put them back together, because they're only like 20 inches wide and we want a 40 inches table. So I'm just setting this up to cut it. we just routed this edge, so the joint here, it's gonna be a little rustic. And you guys will see later on why I want it a little rustic. And then we're gonna run a sander here to make it a little bit uneven. We're gonna stitch this together with a copper thread or copper wire. And when it's, obviously we're gonna glue it and domino it, but with that stitching, it's gonna look like it was just stitched together. So I think it's gonna look better to have this a little bit of a rough. Think that's gonna do it. And now we're just gonna make some mark where we're gonna put the dominoes. Now we have this chestnut table that's been, we glued it 24 hours ago, approximately. And we're just gonna take the clamps off and then cut it to size. And this is the one we glued with Gorilla Glue. And look at this. This is next day after using Gorilla Glue. It looks like oil. I bought these slabs. I bought 4 of them, basically the same sizes, in Florida. I was delivering a boat there. And the guy told me he had it on his shelves for 5-6 years. I think I had it for 8 or 9 years. He said it was chestnut, but it is super hard. So I don't know. If I Googled about chestnut, it says that it's not a hardwood. So I don't know. I'm confused, but let's call it chestnut. And again, this wood is super hard, so I'm gonna do 3, maybe even 4 cuts. In the comment section, you can guess the weight and the species of this piece of wood. I think it should be called ironwood because it's heavy like iron. And there you have the measurements. Wow. Now we're just going to sand off the excess glue, and I'm going to use a knife to get the one that it's in that crack there. And now I'm going to use a knife to cut these. This is just a template on how it's going to look. We don't know exactly how it's going to look. Short to long. This looks too neat, but then there is short to long. Is this looks too cool, or it should be closer together, huh? I think it should be closer together. I think this is the way we wanted the style, but it's just too spread out. So we're gonna, instead of having them 2 inches apart, we're gonna do it 1.5 inches. So we're just gonna put a tape on top of the tape. And then I'm gonna start on 1 inch, then 1.5 inches, 3/4. Now each line here, it's 3/4 of an inch in between. Maybe we should use millimeter, it's easier. Let's do long to short. And long to short. And from this side, it's long to short. I think that's it. Now it's 1.5 inches between tip to the tip, or this top to this top. I think we decided how the stitching is going to be, and instead of having 2 inches wide, we're just going to have 1.5 inches. So I'm going to make a template with holes that they're 1.5 inches apart, and we use that template both for the short, or the one that is only 1/2 inch from the edge, and the one that is 1 inch from the edge. So, and first I'm just going to drill a small hole, same thing in the template, and then over to the table. And when we have perfect, we figure out the right thickness so it fits the copper. And we're also going to have a countersink hole so it looks a little bit better. All right, now I'm just going to measure here. I already put some marks on 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch, and I think we can do, we said 1.5 inches between each hole. And if this is not 100% 1.5 inches, it's not the end of the world. It's stitching. It's going to look like hand stitching. Now we're going to drill the template. It's going to be 1/2 inch from the edge, and it's going to be 1.5 inches from center to center on the holes. And as I said, that's the template. All right, beautiful. Here we have the template, 1.5 inches in between the holes, 1/2 inch from the edge. And I'm just going to lay those. This is stitching, so it's not super critical. And by laying another piece of wood next to it, we're going to see easier if it's center. And it is. And then I have some lead weights. And now I'm just going to drill. And I'm not going to drill all the way through. I'm just going to make marks. Alrighty. I think that looks good. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit with sander. And then I'm going to continue doing all the way the same way and the same way on this side, but just so you guys know, or maybe we can just do this so we all see what happens here. Now these are on 1/2 inch, and another 1/2 inch makes it 1 inch. And then we're going to center that hole in between so we get that 3/4. That looks pretty good. And now if we drill these holes, we have accomplished something. in the middle there, it's 3/4. Then we make this, and then we take a mark right there. So now we can set that up right on top of that hole, right there. Now we have it all lined up to be dead center and a 1/2 inch out. So yeah. I'm gonna do the holes that we did on the first line, but just to line it up, I'm gonna put the one hole here that we know the spacing is where we want it. Now, to know where I'm gonna place this hole, the short one, or that is closest to the center, gonna face each other. The same thing, the further out, gonna face each other. So the next one is gonna be, I'm lining up with the close one. And of course, a good way of doing that, like this. Perfect. I'm sure you noticed I swapped drill bit and I got the pointy one. It's actually for plug cutters or plug holes. I just want it a little bit irregular, organic. So it looks like I did this by hand. Now when I drilled 296 holes, I'm going to decide what thickness of the copper we're going to use. I always thought this thicker one, it's the ticket, but looking at it, it might be too thick. But we're going to do a few stitches and see what happens. I do think that the thinner one is going to look more natural, look like you actually use a thread to stitch it together. So I'm going to try, and if it doesn't look good, we go back to this. Alrighty. Now I just have to drill 296 holes all the way through in this ironwood material. Here we're going to make some epoxy filler for the table, and I'm going to try to mix two colors to get close to copper. This is a scarlet, and to me it's kind of close to copper, and we just add a little bit of a black onto it, and if we're lucky we got some good color. Let's see what happens. I like to use penetrating epoxy, and it brings out the color in the wood. And I tried a few different things here on a smaller piece on this. I don't know what kind of wood it is, but it's super hard. So I brushed on the penetrating epoxy. Normally it just sucks in, but you could see here it's just laying on the surface. So that's not a good thing to use. I put some wax on here, furniture wax, and I also put some wax on here. This is no color, and this is a little bit of a color to it. But the client decided this is the way, and now it's easy to just apply wax on both sides and anytime it's needed. This is a few days after we put this so-called penetrating epoxy. It is penetrating epoxy. It's just like this wood is so hard that it just didn't penetrate. And it looks on top, so it looks like regular epoxy. And here's the two different wax. And the client decided on this one. It's more natural, of the authentic of the original look of the wood. I'm gonna grind off or make this live edge smooth. It's the bark is off, and I'm just gonna try two different machines. Oh yeah, it looks like copper. When we sand the first coat of the epoxy, it's a little sticky. And it's better to use this, it's Festool as well, but they call it net. So it's a little easier to clean it if it gets all that sticky stuff in here. But let's give it a try. We've had a lot of cracks all over here, and what I did, I filled those with epoxy west system, but I colored it to look like copper. I don't know if we're gonna see that, but we're gonna find out. And it's pretty close to copper. And I did that all over, and you fill, then you have to sand, and then you have to fill all the imperfection. I did that 4 times, and now it's almost perfect. So now we're just gonna put some wax on here and see if the color in the cracks shows. This is a plant-based product that I used before, and a client that wanted or ordered this table asked to have this done. I don't know if this is any better than other waxes, but Let's try. Yeah, we do see some copper colors there. And it's going to be more when we polish this. Right now it's a lot of wax on top of here. Now I'm going to start with the stitching. I'm not 100% sure how it's going to work, but we give it a try. And I don't know how much material we're going to start with, but let's say we do, this looks like 5-6 feet. And we do there, 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 there. Then the next one, it's that. I think that's gonna be the ticket. I'm happy with the look, but boy, it's tough. Maybe I'm using too thick of a copper, but to make it look cool, I think this is the way. So I just have to work with it, on it. I know how I'm going to spend my weekend. Threading. I'm almost done with the stitching. This took a long time and it was kind of hard, but I'm happy with the results. So what I did, I pulled not more than 6 feet on each time. So on the back side, it doesn't look as good as here, but we're going to clean it up so it looks all good. Like this is probably 4 or 5 feet. And then I pull it through, and then I use a plastic hammer. And before, I'm going to go through all this and hammer it down and make sure everything is looking good. And then I just go up, I take this, and then I take this. Now it looks like it's done, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Now we just have, I'm going to finish the back side, and then we have a base for it, which is half metal and half wood. This is part of a table. I found this a few years ago. The table was just rotten, so the only thing that I saved was this lower metal piece. You basically put 4x4 legs and tighten it on here. And this is like a no, it's like, yeah, it's a cast and it's put together with copper. So it's gonna fit to this, gonna look good with this table. We're gonna glue some ash together for the leg. So I'm just gonna cut a few pieces, glue them together. Here I have it, after I glued it, I scraped off the glue and I cut it so it's square, 3 1/4 and 3 1/4. I'm just gonna sand it a little bit, clean it up. Then we round off the edges just a little bit and the bottom. And then we wax it. This is the natural product we use on the table, but to get the ash looking closer, a little bit darker, I have something that's called, it's a kiwi. It's the same brand that you use for polishing your boots or shoes. This says light oak. It looks like it's dark, but by the time you put it on, it looks closer to an oak color. And this is a wax that we let sit for a few hours, and then we're just kind of polishing it off like you would do to your shoes. And here you see the hard chestnut or the hard oak, and this is the ash that I put a little bit of a darker wax on, and it's pretty close, especially when it's going to be legs, and you could see the 4 layers here. It's not bad. Okay, now we only have to drill the holes on the side and then put it on that metal framework. The client asked us to have these kind of legs. It's more a rustic look, and it goes good with the table. But she also wants a high-tech aluminum base that we're working on, and we're going to show that. I made a jig so we can cut exactly the same on each piece that is going to be welded for the second version of the base for the copper table. I made a jig for this cut. We can't do on a miter saw, and if I make it like this, it's going to be the same every time. And this is where the weld is, and I gonna cut it, and you see how it works. And here we are using a regular wood cutting blade, but I have a blade that I only use for aluminum because it's dull when it comes to woodworking. And now this angle is exactly the same each cut. I cut all these aluminum pieces and gave it to a friend that has the setup to weld aluminum. He did a good job, but he thought he was welding on airplane because he was very expensive. But it's the way I wanted. We have 2 of these, and in between here I have that same material. We're going to put 2 bolts here, but now we can take it apart and use it for a smaller table or a bigger table, and it just slides on here. We see how it looks. And to make this stable, I think we have to bolt it, but let's measure where we're gonna have it and then support it. What do we have? 14. And 14. And then we just make sure we have it 8.5. We have 7 and 7. And since this table is not perfectly square, it's like this. I'm happy with the look of this table, and if you guys like what I'm doing, please let us know, and of course please subscribe.